really long journey before the first product came out. It took almost about 2.5 years to get the first product out. I think largely, for us, when we decided to do this and we saw there was an opportunity and after Mohit joined, the first condition that Mohit put up was the fact that I will join the company if you create products after which we never import, ever. So for me, while, as an entrepreneur, the biggest task I had at hand was to basically make products that I could confidently use on my own kids, on my own family. And that's where it started from.
This is Siddharth Alwalia. Welcome to the 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Prime Venture Partners, an early stage VC fund led by Amit Somani, Shripati Acharya and Sanjay Swami. Prime is often the first institutional investor in category creating tech startups in fintech, SaaS, healthcare and education such as MoneyTap, Happy, MFine. To know more about Prime, visit primevp.in. Today we have with us co-founders of the Moms Co, Malika and Mohit Sadani. Welcome Malika and Mohit to the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, good to be here.
So just, before we start up, I'd like to give the audience a background about the Moms Co. Moms Co is a skincare company and mom and baby care brand started in 2016. It provides toxin-free products for would-be mothers and newborn babies. When Mohit and Malika shifted to India from London in 2012, they had a tough time with their year-old daughter. Their daughter had dry skin. Whenever she is exposed to any chemical irritants, her skin turned red and itchy. One day, a doctor suggested Malika to use purely natural and safe moisturizer. It then finally worked, but as they say, they were not able to find any such products in India, so they had to import all their baby care products from outside India. And I believe that was the genesis. But before we dive deeper into the Moms Co journey, I would like to know each of your backgrounds before you became entrepreneurs, right? Where you grew up, your families.
So I'm an army kid. I grew up almost all across the country. My dad would get transferred every 2 years. And that is what we did. So literally very nomadic, moving every 2 years, learning about new cultures and new spaces and new ways of living. As far as education is concerned, I did my engineering and did my MBA. Post MBA, I was working in the bank, in the treasury for a bank, where we used to raise debt for the bank.
Yeah. I actually grew up first in Bahrain and then the Middle East. I came back to India because I was very convinced back in 2000 that India would be a massive hub of opportunity. And so I came back here for my engineering, worked in TCS for a couple of years, then Ahmedabad, and then I was in McKinsey for 7 years, where I did a lot of work in consumer goods and retail. And after that, I saw e-com boom. And so I moved out of McKinsey to join Snapdeal, where I was heading growth and heading strategy. And then, when Malika came to me with this idea, I jumped ship and joined her as the first employee.
So yours a unique journey, both co-founders as well as partners in life. How did you both meet each other, way back?
That's also quite an interesting story. So we met in IIM Ahmedabad. Malika had come from her college in Bombay to be a part of our Confluence Festival. Okay. That's where we met and started talking. And I think values met and mindset mapped. And that was 23rd November 2016. 2016.
17.
2017. And 2 years from that date, exactly, we were married. Yeah. So, I think a match made in heaven.
Wow. And were you both, thinking of becoming entrepreneurs since you started your life journey together? Or is it that came more accidentally to you?
So it's very different with the two of us, actually. I think Mohit always wanted to be an entrepreneur. In IMA, he had taken up a course on entrepreneurship as well. I had absolutely zero plans of becoming an entrepreneur. I was very, very happy in my banking job. I used to love it. But I think it was just the need of the hour where we really struggled to find good quality products for our daughters, saw the opportunity, and I'm an obsessive mother. And when I realized that I cannot find it, I decided to create it myself. And that's where the entrepreneurial journey started from.
We all know the genesis of the story. But what was the process of building, let's say, the first product or doing your first set of research? I remember about meeting you, Mohit, back in 2015 or 2016 when I was running my own company, Baby Go Go. So back then, I believe we met in Gurgaon.
Yeah.
Uh, at that point in time, you were meeting your first set of investors.
Yeah.
So what was the planning that went into getting the first product out?
It was a really long journey before the first product came out. It took almost about 2.5 years to get the first product out. I think largely, for us, when we decided to do this and we saw there was an opportunity and after Mohit joined, the first condition that Mohit put up was the fact that I will join the company if you create products after which we never import, ever. So for me, while as an entrepreneur, the biggest task I had at hand was to basically make products that I could confidently use on my own kids, on my own family, and that's where it started from. And with someone who has no background on what you want to do, I think I had to just start from the basics of figuring out what safe meant, what natural meant. Right? There's so much non-understanding of the topic that we had to first start with saying, what does it mean? What does an FDA mean? What do you have to take as approval? What is it necessary to do in terms of tests? So all of that started. We got in touch with a lot of toxicologists from across the globe. We tied up with scientists across India, Australia, Switzerland to kind of create the best and the safest range of skincare products. And after we had done a lot of our research, we realized and we went ahead and tied up with this one particular scientist who decided to take it up as a project where he was just very amused with what I wanted to create. Because when he told me I can make this for you in about 2 weeks, because he had done a lot of natural formulations before, it took him almost 7 months to make my first product. And I think through the course of the period, he just took it up as a challenge. He said, I don't know what you're trying to build because you've literally asked me not to put like those 100 things that any other brand would easily put, right? So I think that was where we got really lucky in meeting the guy who took it up as a challenge, created our first set of products, and we launched them. And then, of course, since ever since then, it's been history. Like it's been a great journey. We did not know when we launched if we would get the love and affection that we got from people and whether people would like the products or not. They were initially purely created from a perspective of saying that they had to be products that I can use on my kids and my families confidently and without being afraid of any harmful ingredient.
And what was your journey of raising your first round of investment? Right? What was the challenges, the hurdles? Back then, D2C was not so popular as it is now.
Correct. Correct. Yes. So it was the very early days of D2C, right? There were hardly any D2C brands. I think what I was very convinced of when Malika came up with the idea, Malika essentially decided that there is a space and there are moms who are clamoring for products. And I came at it with my experience from Snapdeal saying that with social media picking up and e-commerce picking up, there is a space for new brands to be created. And so I had that conviction. And also, a little bit of privilege. I had access to people from my McKinsey days and from my FMCG consulting work. Right. So I essentially created this 3-page document that laid out the thesis. And we never wanted to shortchange, right? So our initial fundraise was also more than 1 crore from angel money, where we raised money from people who have knowledge of FMCG and really understand the internet e-commerce space. And we raised money because we wanted to make sure that as we hit the market, from day one, we build a highly trustworthy brand, right? So we use that capital actually, like about 20% of that capital to go out and get a great agency to work on our design and our creatives, to help us come up with the name called the Mom's Co, with a very sharp mission from the beginning of helping moms make safe, natural, effective choices, right? So our fundraise journey in the beginning was over invested product and the brand, because in the long run, that's what customers really care about. And through that, that's where the funding journey started. With the first products that we had in our hand, we got DSG and Sama Capital on board. They were both fantastic FMCG investors with a great track record, and they had been looking at the baby care space for a while. So that was a fantastic match. And yeah, since then, we've gone back to them multiple times. We've had multiple other term sheets, but we've just been very comfortable. So we've done 3 rounds of capital with those investors. Yeah, that's it. That's been our fundraise journey so far. 4 rounds of capital raised so far, a total of $10 million.
And if you can share your numbers, where you would be in terms of revenue, the numbers you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, I think this is in the public domain that we're run rating over 100 crores now. That's where the brand is. And I think over the next 2 to 3 years, we're looking to take that number up over 300.
Yeah. So I'm asking, was breaking that price barrier, which had been in the consumer minds for mom and baby care products, was a challenge?
Surprising, not really. When we were doing our research and we were trying to find out, when we were trying to cater to the needs of the moms, I love quoting this example, so I'm going to quote it right now. Also, we did a lot of consumer research before we started the company, and there was this one time where we were led to a very small household in South Extension. And because it was South Extension, it's a premium property in Delhi, so we thought it would not really be a tiny space, but it was literally a two-room house. It wasn't even a two-bedroom house. It was a two-room house where the woman was 4 months pregnant, and when I had a conversation with her, I think it was a moment of realization for me when that happened, because while we were on our way up with the agency, I kind of told her, saying that this is the wrong space for us to be in, because from the quality of products that we had made, we realized that it's not going to be very mass, right? And that's when we were going up. I was like, maybe this is not the right place for us, but now that we are here, let's just have a conversation. And that conversation was the most brilliant conversation that we had had. It was life changing for us, because the biggest insight we got was that the segment that we operate out of, which is pregnancy and baby, is led very high by safety and transparency and belief and trust on the brand. It's not got to do with pricing, because it is a moment of everyone's life where pricing, if you have a disposable income to kind of spend on it, this will be the first place you will spend on. You always spend on your child. You always spend on, while you're pregnant. And that's the reason why I don't think we had a problem in terms of breaking a price barrier. Also, our products are not extremely costly, if I may put it, right? They're very economically priced for the nature of products and ingredients and proposition that we kind of put forward to people. So luckily, we haven't faced the price barrier so far.
And what about going into tier 2, tier 3 cities of India? How has your journey been there?
So it's very interesting for that, because even till now, about 45% of our sales comes from tier 2 and tier 3. It's not from the tier 1 cities. And when we started, we were like, everybody who's importing will be the first set of people to adopt and get into our product space. We very soon realized that that was not the case. What happened was there was a lot of people in India who did not have access to international products, who did not have families and friends traveling to abroad on a constant basis. And these people were conscious and they were aware. And the internet has brought up a huge set of awareness for everyone, right? And there is a lot of money in tier 2 and tier 3 as well. So it was not a barrier. And once they realized that there is something of international standards that is available in India, they were the first set of people to buy into the product. Like from our own website, we've done about 15,000 pin codes and gone all the way from the northeast to Jharkhand to like anywhere and everywhere across the country right now, right? So I don't think there is a barrier on tier 2, tier 3, or there's enough people of every segment available who are looking out for natural, safer, conscious products, and you find them everywhere.
And Mohit, you come from a background of working with top brands. You were on the, I believe, the distribution side of Snapdeal. What was your distribution plan when you started? Let's say for the first 10,000 sales, and how did it evolve over a period of time?
It evolved in month 2. Very interesting, right? That just teaches you that whatever plans you go in with, they change quite dramatically. So our intent always was to build trust with the mom, right? Which is why we said the way we'll do that is we'll go pregnancy first. And our first launch was 4 products which were pregnancy only. And very soon to realize that finding pregnant women in India online is very hard, because women don't share their pregnancy status, so even Facebook doesn't know. It's very hard. So while our distribution strategy initially was a lot of conversations with moms on Facebook groups and so on, which did very well, the immediate new thing that we did was by month 2, we were already talking to doctors and hospitals. And we were the first brand in India to actually create stores on store-in-stores, the shop in shops, inside the waiting areas of hospitals, right? Where our insight was that during the pregnancy phase, the mom is very concerned about what she puts on her skin. And she has very little knowledge, because this is the first time she's dealing with concerns like morning sickness and stretch marks. So yeah, by month 2, we had tied up with a few hospitals, and we had started putting our own people and gone offline already within month 3 of the business, right? The original plan was we'll go to offline in year 3 of the business. We ended up doing that by the 3rd month.
And when did marketplaces like Amazon and First Cry started working for you?
when we expanded the portfolio, so they started working early on. I think by the third or fourth month of launch, we had identified a great gap. And so we were already number one, number two in the stretch marks maternity category online, right? We had a very large portfolio and our marketing efforts were really doing well. So those started working well. Now, but at that time, marketplaces themselves were much smaller, and maternity was a small subsegment within that, right? So what we did within the first year itself is we started expanding the idea of a mom to also have larger category plays, right? So we were in hair care, for example, and we were in body lotions, for example, and body butters, which are all concerns that moms have after delivery as well. So that really helped us expand into newer categories, and that's when our marketplaces took off. No, and the real takeoff, came in after we launched baby care as well. So baby we launched a year after that. Now baby is a larger segment online than maternity, right? So while maternity we had a leadership position, on baby also that started kicking in. So our journey has constantly been, how do we change the definition of what mom skincare, hair care, face care looks like, and allowing us to play in a lot of other very large categories with a very different proposition.
And if you can share how many SKUs or different products you have at currently at this
About
moment,
40 SKUs today.
and how many do you plan to have, let's say, by the end of December 2021?
We're at a different phase now. So in the last 6 months, what we've done is really expanded the definition of mom skincare again, right? That's constantly been the journey of the brand. So 6 months ago, we launched age control, right? Because we had so many moms who were coming back to us and saying, I have other concerns like aging now. I trust you as a brand to be natural, safe, pure, effective. Can you come and have an age control range or an anti-aging range? So we launched that. Then we started going into slightly broader categories as well. We launched a toner in Jan this year, where again the conversation was moms came to us saying, look, there's all this complicated skincare advice. I trust you for advice. Can you give me simple solutions? So with that, we started now expanding the product portfolio. Though we're still very thoughtful. So I think unlike other D2C brands, we're going to keep that a little bit focused, and we'll probably end the year with about 50 to 60 products in hand.
Malika, when you started interacting with the first set of moms in 2016, and it's been 5 years now, how has the consumer changed in these 5 years? If you can share the consumer journey also. Uh,
They've changed a lot. I think I think I've just seen a trend of women becoming far more confident, and they're becoming far more aware as well. So the conversations which we started was, first we had to explain what toxin free meant. We're not anymore in the similar space where women don't understand toxin free, but people understand that. And now it's moved not just from what you keep out in your product, because safety has become more of a hygiene, but it's also more about what is the goodness that your product has and what difference is it going to make in my life. Also, in terms of, I think beauty as a segment in general over the last 2 to 3 years has seen a massive, awareness spree which has happened, right? So, toner, as Mohit mentioned, as a conversation was not every day, every household user product. Today it is. As there are questions that people want to understand what a CTM routine is. There are conversations happening of ingredients like AHA, BHAs, hyaluronic acid, which was not where it was, right? Like about 5 years back, it was about cocoa, shea, oils that you use. The coconut oil was like really, really popular. But now I think the consumer is becoming a lot more, open to trying out newer ingredients, newer brand stories, newer products in their, in the beauty regime, which wasn't the case about 5 years back.
and how has your journey been? Being on the top of mind uh, of your consumers for, let's say, over a period of 3 to 4 years, because once she tries the product, she likes it, but uh, how do you ensure that she tries out even more products of yours and is constantly exposed to the brand in a positive way?
Yeah. So we constantly stay in touch with everybody. So I'll tell you, we had done this very interesting thing when we had started. So when we started, and with the first set of 1,000 to about 5,000 odd customers that we had a WhatsApp number, which was the customer care's number. It's not a board line number, but everybody, each of the customer care executives had their particular number, and they would get assigned the consumer. So the consumer had a one-on-one contact with someone from the company through a WhatsApp message. So every time you purchased with us, this is what we shared with you. The largest reason why we as a brand did it was because we wanted a lot of feedback from moms, and we wanted to kind of I launched with pregnancy, and then I knew I was going to launch baby in about 6 months. So it was very important for me to see the transition of everyone who was pregnant and used us moved through our baby care range as well. So we stayed in touch with them, and our entire first two batches that we had made for baby production were sold to these consumers because they were the ones who were the first people who came back and made the purchase. And all of that happened through staying in touch with them for WhatsApp. Our biggest insight also in the segment that we realized is that moms genuinely are starved for time, right? Because they're constantly running after kids. And just the fact that you have a WhatsApp number whom you could just send out a message to saying that, I need the baby wash, can you just place the order with me? My address remains the same. Please send it across a COD order and I'll make the payment for it. It just kind of had a very positive impact on the sales. And it was this as an exercise that helped us build the bond with our first set of consumers. It is very interesting to say that on a customer care number, and there was also a time initially for almost about a year, I think, that Mohit and I also had the customer care number. And there was a lady who messaged us about 9:30 at night, and we were just wondering, saying, what happened at 9:30 at night? And she was like, listen, is there any way you can get me the set box that you have? We have in everything for baby kit. And can you just get this kit to my house by day after tomorrow? We said, yeah, sure. When are you due? She said, I'm on my way to the hospital right now. I'm in labor. And we've also had those moments, but I don't think we would be able to create those moments had we did not have a very strong personal touch. And that personal touch has actually gone a long way for the brand, where the first few words that people think about when the brand comes to their mind is trust and honesty. Right. So we've always kind of held ground to the fact that we're here to be a mom's trusted partner in her journey into motherhood. And we will always be honest to her about everything. And we've stayed in touch with them, not just through products, but also through content. Like we have a very strong Instagram and Facebook community where we're constantly giving out pieces of content to them on pieces that is bothering the moms the most, and which could be in either segment of beauty or baby care as well. So I think that's what's helped us over the years build stronger bonds with the moms.
So, Malika, can you let me know about how you got your first brand advocates? And then, today you have Genelia D'Souza as a advocate. How did you get her, from there to getting the first set of moms as advocates to now her? How's the journey been of getting them?
So the brand has always been very personal to everyone around, right? So the first set of advocates actually came from a personal post that both Mohit and I had put on Facebook and on an Instagram accounts. Also going forward, I think the first brand video that got released was a video that I made with my daughters in my house that got published. And it was my story. So I think the first set of people who kind of came to purchase came from this whole belief on someone's own personal story. And the fact that the personal story resonated with a large set of audience was where we got our first set of people from. And I think as a brand, what we were always careful on was on the quality of the product that we put out in the market. So, once in the belief and the trust came from the brand and the story behind the brand and the people behind the brand, then it was all about trying the product and constantly believing that the product was also good. And when they found that even the product lived up to the promise that was made by real people behind the brand, it kind of gave us our first set of advocates who went ahead and spoke to a lot of people. We were a part of those beautiful stories where kids got born, and on third day, there was a message sent to the brand saying, my child is here and it's proudly a Mom's Co baby, right? So I think those were those beautiful stories that we had. And that just continued with the brand. So, we've had two brand ambassadors who have done certain ranges for us. We had Kalki for age control, and we got Genelia for our baby care range. And both the times when we met the ladies, and I met them before the shoot started, and both of them just turned around and said, oh, this is so great that we're actually, kind of endorsing a brand that I'm actually using for my kids as well, right? So I think just the fact that the connection that you see when they also put those videos out was largely because the brand was there in their houses and they had a strong connection with the brand and the brand story. So I think what's played for us beautifully over the years is a real story that the brand had to put out, and the belief that we lived up to our promise and did not change the brand promise over the last 4 years that we've been around for.
And Mohit, if you can share your journey of building distribution channels, what was it required, for entrepreneurs listening on the podcast, especially who are aspiring D2C or already in D2C? what were the channels that you used and how you allocated resources for it from the journey of 0 to 10 lakhs monthly revenue, 10 to 1 CR monthly revenue, and then 1 to currently, let's say, 8 CR monthly revenue?
Yeah. Okay, so 0 to 10, I'll go back to the decision and the brand, right? We said as a brand at that time, we want to help moms make safe, natural, and easy choices, right? Before we realized how impactful, effective would be, and then we changed the mission. When we said easy, the simple question we asked was, where is the mom today? And do I want her to take an additional effort to come and look at my product? Right. And just that decision helped us say, no, even when we start, we will not be website only, because I don't want them to build trust on my website experience. They already trust Amazon. Let me be on Amazon, and let me only fight the battle of helping them trust the brand. So even at launch, we were on our own website and on Amazon and FirstCry, which is where the maternity and baby care audience was. We launched with Nykaa. And so our 0 to 10 journey was all, let's be wherever moms are online, and let's make sure that our products are visible to them, right? And of course, the spends were commensurate to the sales at that time, so the 0 to 10. With 10 to 1, we then, I think it expanded to saying online, are there other channels where we can start to be present where moms aren't, right? As an example. So at that time, 1mg was new, right? We started going down the pharma e-commerce route, saying this is where moms are, and as a brand, I can get additional visibility, even in a larger set of audience, right? So to really get people talking about our products, we also test the hospital channel in parallel, right? Again, very focused, saying if pregnant women are going to hospitals and my mom counselor and a doctor are the two decision makers that can help her make that choice, can we help her make an easier choice? And so very targeted offline distribution and very sharp online distribution focused on where the moms are and where she's making her decision, right? I think the 1 to 8 has been all about expansion, right? So 1 to 8 to 10. The question really is, as our products have expanded, where are those moms looking for the products? And in particular, I think the difference that happens from 1 to 8 to 10 is you can't just say, is there demand for the product that I'm selling? The question is really, is there demand for my brand and my branded product that I'm selling, right? So when we launched, for example, a face wash, the question really isn't, is mom looking for face wash? Because of course she is, she's in across categories, but there's also much more competition. So as you expand into larger competition sets and bigger brands, the question is now, is there demand for your product? And this is both relevant online and offline. So really at every step of the way, we've said, is there demand for my brand and my product, or can I create that demand with all the other activities that I'm doing? And therefore we've expanded, right? So slowly the expansion has gone from all of that to our own website, where we've really cracked, I would say, great performance advertising and community building and influencer marketing. So focus on D2C website has come in from that. In the pandemic, actually, in the last year, we've also now started expanding into the pharmacy chain as an example. Because what happened was, as online sales dried up last year and deliveries weren't possible, we started getting a lot of phone calls from moms saying, I need your product. Can you be available in the local pharmacy? Right. So as our demand shifted to saying offline, we would get off takes. We also started going offline as well. Now, and to us, the D2C website and marketplaces and offline will all be the big levers as we take the journey from 8 to 80.
And if you can share the mix, the percentages of currently offline and online, and in online, which would be the largest channel in terms of the percentage for you currently?
Yeah. So offline went from 0 to about 10% in March. And within online, our website and Amazon and Nykaa are pretty much similar numbers. Depending on months and depending on activations that we do, they flip positions 1, 2, and 3. But those are our 3 biggest channels. Very close seconds right now are Flipkart and FirstCry.
And when D2C entrepreneurs start building, right, and what would your advice be? Focus on the brand story first and distribution later, or focus on distribution and then evolve with the brand story as you continue to know your customers?
All of them have to go hand in hand, actually. Right? So you can have a fantastic brand story, but if you get no distribution, there's no point. Right? And if you get all the distribution, but your brand story doesn't sit and there's no organic demand for your product, that also doesn't work.
I actually have a very different point to it as well. I think you need to first focus on the product that you're offering. And if there's a real need for your product, because if there's no real need for the product, no matter what, you will only be spending more and more money to kind of build that as a requirement. It's really hard to already existing need. So, and I think as D2C first brand is very, very important that there is something that your consumer is looking for, which you'll end up creating, and that you create in a fashion which is very differentiated from what anybody else has ever done it. Right, so that the whole advantage that you can have from word of mouth is then very, very large, and that's how brands really scale in the D2C world. You have to get people to become advocates and people to talk about more about your product, because on a retail shelf, that is very simple. Someone makes a purchase and goes back. With an Amazon or an Nykaa or any other online player, your journey is not just restricted to purchase. There's this whole loop of feedback that comes in after that. And that's really important, because the choice the consumer is making because of the set of reviews and feedbacks that he sees on it, which again brings us back to the point that focusing on your product is the first thing that you need to do. If your product is great, your consumer will tell you where he needs the product, and distribution can follow post that.
Yeah.
Malika, you have mentioned on your LinkedIn that you were a homemaker from 2010 to 2016. How is it, becoming entrepreneur after experiencing a phase where you were giving all your time for your kids? How has that shifted for you?
The whole reason why this exists is because I took the break. So I think what just happened, Siddharth, was that when I left my job in the bank and I became a full-time, I was actually pregnant at that point of time. And once I had Myra, there was always a lookout for going back to work. I had always decided I'm going to go back to work. And I think it's very important that when the woman decides to quit her job to look after her child, it's not spoken about often, is that there's a lot of inherent fear that will I ever be able to come back or not, right? And kudos to my boss at that point of time. And I was going through this whole phase where I wasn't very sure that even if I come back, will I have a job? Will I not have a job? I was just having a conversation with my super boss at that point of time, and just called me inside saying, I heard you've quit. So what's up? Where are you going? What's the plan? And I said, I'm moving to London, but I'm very afraid. He said, of what? I said, I'm not sure I'll find a job after I come back. He said, if that's the only worry you have, please put it out of the window, because I'm pretty sure that once you come back and you put your CV out, there'll be enough and more people who will want you back, right? And I think just that reaffirmation from him was, after listening to it, was when I just actually quit my paper and put my paper down. Before that, I was going through a lot of phase saying, I can extend my maternity leave, start my maternity leave earlier, because I was 4 months before delivering actually, right? And but I just quit. And after I quit was when I had practically nothing to do but to think about the child. And then we became like these parents who were constantly reading on good products, good ways of bringing up your children, to extra activities that you can do with child. And that's when I got introduced to the whole concept of natural, safe, toxin-free, good for children, a perfect diet for an expecting mom, or a diet for a pregnant, or for a baby or a newborn baby, and all of that. And that's, I think, what's been the backbone of what the Momsco stands for today. But I think coming back to work was always in my mind. Before this, I had decided to do and try my hand on building a business model for another startup, which was again in a very similar space of opening creches. It was just that I wanted to open creches in Bombay, and I figured the real estate price was not sitting down to a great value to make a strong business proposition. So that went out, and then of course the Momsco started. Also, how the company starts is, there is a phase that we had a very long period of product development, and in that product development phase we could go through the point in time where I was out for a few hours to out for a longer period of time to being out for days altogether, right? So I think that was a journey that we took in those 1.5 years where the product development was happening. Also, during the course of the time when I came back, my younger daughter was about 2 years old and my older daughter was about 5. So they weren't really babies at that point of time. So, you always say that the younger child grows up much faster than the older one, because they're constantly with the older one and have company. So the fact that the two of them were old enough to voice what they wanted was comfort enough for me to go back to work full time.
And were there any self-doubts during that 6 years of journey, that will you be able to resume work or not work, or?
Always. Always. I used to have horrid dreams when I quit work first and I went to move to London. I remember telling Mohit saying, I don't know what you have done. I have moved because you had a transfer, but I'm not so sure how it would go. But I think self-doubt is something that just carries and stays with you, right? So there is everybody, and especially in entrepreneurship, I strongly urge people to kind of figure out, not sort of put your self-doubts down, kind of bring them up to surface and face them and go over it, because the amount of self-doubt you will have as an entrepreneur will be continuous and quite a bit, right? Because the first it will be saying that, will my idea really work, right? At a certainly larger scale, will say, will I be able to convince the right people to join the company? Because everybody who joins the organization doesn't join for what you're building at that point of time, but largely for the two of you, right? Or for the founders. Then it's about, will I be able to attract the right kind of talent? After you've done that and after the company's grown slightly longer, is that, can we get more and more customers? And then it is that, can I really make it to that 1,000 crore mark? And then it will be, I'm sure it'll go down to, can I make it to the 10,000 crore mark, right? So there's always self-doubt on whether I am the right person for this or not. But if you're an entrepreneur, you have to believe that there is something that you're really passionate about doing. Please just go ahead and get started. And you will find all answers for your questions during the course of the period of time.
You said that self-doubt kills more dreams than accidents can.
Yes. Which is why I'm saying, please address them, because you could really create great empires out of just putting your self-doubt down.
So how did you overcome, first of all, during those 6 years, self-doubt as a mother and where you want to be a working woman again? And then again, after 2016, self-doubts as an entrepreneur, what helped you?
I love talking to people, and I love surrounding myself with really smart people who can help me think through stuff. And I never hesitate from asking for help. That's one thing. So I build confidence in my ideas. I build confidence in what I want to do by having conversations with people who are, who have done things and achieved something, or done things and failed. I think both stories are great for you to build learnings from, right? And I think that's what's really helped me. And I think the whole belief that I had in the idea, saying that, even if no one purchases the product, but I need it for sure. And I'm sure if I need it, there are millions of other people as well who need it. And at least I'll get those first set of people to come and kind of send it, was the first thing that put the self-doubt out. Over the course of the last 4 years as an entrepreneur, I have learned, and I strongly believe that every problem that comes in the company is my problem, and I have to solve for it, right? Only if I, unleash talent which we have hired, is when the company will reach greater and greater heights. So, every time there is a self-doubt, I try and find an answer on where the doubt is coming from, and how can I bridge that doubt with actual facts, which will help build it up. And then you put the conversation out to people. And I think it's a lot of your own confidence that you build with the people in your team that builds confidence in everyone else as well. So yeah, that's what's helped me so far.
And who are the other entrepreneurs? You mentioned that you like to, talk a lot, discuss a lot. And who are the other entrepreneurs that you looked up to and took advice from time to time during this journey?
Yeah, so Radhika Ghai, the lady who's the founder of Shop Clues, she's one person whom I kind of brainstorm a lot with. She lives in the same complex as us. So she's one person I constantly keep going to. Other than that, we have a very strong set of mentors. We've got Shripad Nadkarni, who is like the brand guru almost at India, and he helps me think through brand. And I've called him that odd asks with stupid questions as well, which I don't think are stupid according to me, and neither does he, right? And every time I've asked a question to him, he's actually spent time brainstorming with me on, why do you think it's a concern? And if it's really a concern, then let's just address it together. And if it is not a concern, then let's put it down, right? So he's been great help. And we also have Nandu Nandkishore. He was a global board member at Nestle, and he's kind of helped us think through the next stage of business by just telling us beforehand, saying this is what's going to happen next. And just the fact that you know what's going to happen next kind of preps you up for it way in advance. And then you kind of start working on it, right? Like if you're fundamentally a person who is driven to achieve something, and you're very, and the startup that you're doing is very personal to you, you will figure a way out to solve for it, because you're not going to give up on it. And if you're not going to give up on it, you'll figure a way out for sure.
Thank you so much, Mohit and Malika. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing insights from your journey. I learned a lot, and Hopefully, the listeners learn a lot from your journey. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
It's
much
been a
for
pleasure.
having us. Thank you.